Well, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, everybody from all around the world, hello and welcome to another episode of The Watchable with me, your host, Jean-Luc Welch. Let's make some noise, everybody. Clap it up, get excited wherever you are. We're back, we're here, we're live, and we are so excited to be with you on this Tuesday afternoon, covering the world of boxing and beyond, as we have so much to discuss in the sports landscape of the combat world, like with some news, or rather confirmation, that we got the first face-off between Teofimo Lopez and Romero. That fight is official to go down for Romero's championship. We're going to have some actual legitimately in-depth conversations about that fight as we're early on winding into what that fight might look like and what is the ramifications for both Rolly and Teo going into this championship affair. Also, it seems like, if we got some time to cover, further talks with Boots Ennis and Virgil Ortiz are actually going in a positive direction. Controversially, or rather, contradicted to what I thought was going to happen with this fight breaking down again. It looks like it's actually picking up some steam, and we might actually get them two squaring off against each other. So we're going to be having that conversation in this show. Also, in the bigger aspects of this topics of combat sports, we got Shakur Stevenson, the biggest news of which, now that he's signed with Zufa, who will be the first man that Shakur will fight against. And I think I have a more concrete idea of the exact type of timeline that we'll see Shakur go through as he works through his Zuffa contract of a multi-fight deal. And who's the first guy most likely to step in the ring with Shakur, and if it might be this year or not. But with all that being said, we appreciate you tuning in. We appreciate you listening. We're happy that you're here joining with us on our live stream. Make sure if you can, please be sure to go ahead and subscribe to the channel. That's right. Be a part of the hottest show on all the globe, and come join the empire. Come join this community. Come join this monolith of a great environment of discussion, conversation, and debate, all with you at the helm, controlling where we go. Subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you know whenever we post right here on YouTube, and you can keep up to date with everything that we got going on. Also, be sure, if you would, leave a like on the stream. One like makes a world of difference to help us to grow and flourish and reach the masses all across the globe, all where, whether on the East Coast, West Coast, Europe, it don't matter to me. Just know one like helps us to reach the masses and touch every corner of this great globe that we that we live on. And also, please be sure, if you can, what's the last two parts? Subscribe, notification bell, leave a like on the video. Oh, and keep on commenting your thoughts and opinions. That's what I was trying to say. Put your comments in the chat of whatever we discuss and talk about right here on this show, so we can have your voice be added to the conversation of everything that we go through and talk about on today's episode. And hey, we also got the championship rounds at the end of this show, which is for the last 30 minutes to an hour. You all control the flow of this entire conversation and the entire direction of this show. We want to hear from you and your thoughts and your responses on everything that we discussed and or new topics that you want to bring to the table. And please be sure, if you can, support the channel. We got Cash App, PayPal, links down below in the description, super chats, super gifts, stickers, and the like to help us to pay the bills and to help us go through and edify this show to make it better for you listening and viewing all across the globe. And please be sure to share the show with everybody that you know, so we can keep on building up this empire together and growing this community so much stronger. But look, we have a lot to cover in a short amount of time to do it. This won't be as long of an episode. Also, I got to make sure that I'm feeling like I've been sniffing. Trying to make sure I ain't sick. Might have to do a little bit of self-care. But regardless of which, for as long as we're here, we're going to give you the best in entertainment and outright discussion. So it's time to talk boxing. It's time to talk sports. And it's time for us to do what we do best, which is to entertain the masses. So it's time to step into the ring. Yes, sir. Ring the bell. Let's get it started. It's time to work. Round one of this show going underway, and we have to discuss the biggest news, or rather the biggest talking points of today's episode. Yes, so again, Boots is we're going to discuss, and also with the rest of the topics that we ran down earlier. But the biggest thing that we need to talk about is what's next for Shakur Stevenson, specifically his next fight. It's been a hot topic of deliberation amongst the public because now we're all intrigued to see what direction Shakur Stevenson's career is going to go now that he is signed with Zuffa Boxing. And some people's eyes, the enemy of the state and the enemy of the sport. Oh my. Will it work out? Will it not work out? We're going to find out. But the biggest thing is who will be the first opposition that we'll see him go up against. We've had a bunch of discussion ending in last week's episode on Friday. We brought up El Rayo. We brought up Richardson Hitchens. We brought up De Los Santos. We brought up some other people on the card, lesser names, on the 140, 135 pound division. We even had some concerns because we were saying they don't even have the division that currently Shakur is fighting in right now, where he holds all the gold at this point in time. So we are very interested. And also, we brought up Ben versus Shakur. And hey, Lovekin, you right on time as we were discussing this kind of Ben versus Shakur Stevenson. Also, good to see you, Love King. How you doing? We appreciate you on the show. Thank you so much for showing up, showing out, and tuning in to our humble abode of a channel. There we go. I don't know why the button wasn't working. We appreciate you being here with us. That would be an entertaining fight. And that's been heating up in very legitimate, opportune eyes of the boxing public. This fight, Conor Ben and Shakur, now it's starting to really gain some steam more than ever with this conversation of Shakur's next move with Zuffa. Even with Hitchens, even with El Rayo and De Los Santos, it seems like now Conor Ben may be looking to be not just the most entertaining affair, but it might be the first affair that we can see go through outright. And it brings the question, how would the roadmap be? This would be the most entertaining affair, but it's not necessarily about what type of fight it would be. It's about building a structure of anticipation for the audience. We just saw Zuffa sign the biggest name in their company's history in the framework of the boxing world in Shakur Stevenson, landing a top 10 pound for pound fighter. Insane and incredible. Now, with the second biggest name being Richardson Hitchens, the third potentially being El Rayo, I'm sorry, with the second biggest name being Conor Ben, third biggest being Hitchens, fourth and fifth, you can toss up between El Rayo and De Los Santos. And we're going to go with the people around Shakur's wavelength of weight class. That's the ranking from the perspective of the marketing eye for the boxing world. Since we know that, there is a structure Zuffa's got to follow to be able to build up this story of Shakur not just winning, but taking on a bigger giant, and then another bigger giant, and then ultimately getting to a crescendo of a fight everybody finally wants to see as the big payoff to this whole story. And it could be, yes, Devin Haney is the ultimate potential end game if we do ultimately see him also come through to Zuffa. We still don't know exactly where he is signing. We're still waiting on the announcement if it ever does come. All we know is right now that is still on the actual operating table that we can get that fight dissected for the public to see. Cool. But if that doesn't happen, or even getting to that before that, Conor Ben looks like the biggest exciting threat that we can see at this division. Am I wrong? Am I wrong? Again, El Rayo, we brought up last week. El Rayo will be a great name because he just knocked out De Los Santos. The story is there between the two because of what we saw with De Los Santos and El Rayo, not just fighting against each other, but De Los Santos fighting and giving Shakur Stevenson the worst performance of his entire career. I repeat, the worst performance of his entire career that people still to this day will not let him live down. Part of the marketing as to why people call him a boring fighter was all because of that one specific fight. So, you beat the man that gave you trouble, and then you take him out in terms of El Rayo, boom, they can set up a fight with De Los Santos. Everything seems to bite itself. However, again, we're still looking at the bigger picture. The bigger picture right now is still who is going to be the climax of this potential fight deal and or the build-up to cash out for the big payday. Who's that guy? If it isn't Devin Haney, I do believe it would be counterfeit. I do. If we're going from a business standpoint. Here's what I see happening. We get, as much as I don't think we should see it, first off, as much as I'm not excited for it, we get El Rayo potentially first before anything else. We do. We get El Rayo before anything else. And it would be because of El Rayo, not just with the win with Dos Santos, El Rayo also publicly on social media calling out Shakur Stevenson, talking about, hey, I can be your tune-up. Shakur Stevenson saying, absolutely not. You will not be my tune-up. I'll pull up the tweet while I'm talking about this, but it's important because, number one, it would be a good launching point for a fighter just got a dramatic KO over a guy that gave Shakur a bunch of trouble. Boom, be the first guy to go. Now with Zuffa, get him out of here. Decent payday. If you knock him out, it would actually help to quell some of the arguments against you. And you can knock out El Rayo if you're Shakur Stevenson. If you really wanted to put pedal to the metal, it is possible. It's not likely because it's Shakur, but it's possible. But at least you could potentially set the groundwork for, hey, I'm still breaking the mold of what you think I am, and I can consistently be a more exciting fighter. This is an opportunity against El Rayo, an opponent I know Shakur can absolutely beat. He can showcase a lot of that offensive weaponry, similar to what he did against Teofimo Lopez, similar to what he did against what's his name? William Zepeda, and give the fans a little bit of backing of, okay, hey, this brother might be acting a little bit different with the new company, helping to further bolster his cachet even higher and knocking against the norm of what people will call him now as a boring fighter. If there was a fight to do it, that would be the one. After that, then, now you get into the territory of your name's looking a lot better, you're still winning, you got a memorable win in terms of performance potentially against a guy that you're supposed to have a very memorable performance against, because you can do whatever you want against a Rayo, to be completely honest. If everything goes smooth, everybody's talking about Shakur once again. Still want to see Devin Haney. Still want to see him against big top names. Still want to see him be undisputed. His name's back in the limelight even more fervently for the big fights that we want to see. Perfect. Now, second fight on this deal, you then go after. If I had a drum roll, I would be able to do it. Richardson Hitchens. Yeah, you do it. And I know. Let me tell you something right now. I'm going to tell you, I'll be the first to say I hate it. Because I despise Richardson Hitchens and Shakur fighting each other. Be clear. I despise it. But because Hitchens signed with them, Shakur signed with them, and if you're trying to, again, build up the payday to cash out on a big fight, Hitchens, his name has been in the framework of Shakur for a long time. Hitchens has been saying he wants this opportunity. Hitchens also, though again, it would be, we can talk about the fight itself, but Hitchens as a name would spark some level of, he took him out. Now, that is a perfect stepping stone for counterfeit. Specifically because that fight would most likely be boring as all get out. And I said, I don't say it in a good way, but it could work in the benefit of building up a better fight. Because this could lead to, in 3 fights, we finally get that counterfeit fight. And that counterfeit fight could be an exciting clash of styles that, hey, it isn't Devin Haney, sure, but as a final build up, and now payout with a fighter that could be a threat, even though I think he's going to lose, could be a threat, and could make for some exciting action, that could be the thing to do it. And there's more interest than I thought in that Shakur versus Conor Benn fight. That gives Conor Benn time to get some wins on his belt, be exciting for the public to see. Shakur to further bolster his name up, which is already incredibly high. Next thing you know, they meet in the middle. Everybody at least has some level of interest into it. And now, boom, perfect thing. Perfect 3-fight plan, at least in my humble opinion. And after that, Lord willing, we get Devin Haney. That would be my plan. That's the throughway I could see of how this stint index fight and fights could go. But that's just my opinion. Now, I don't want to bore y'all with just me talking. Let me see what you all have to say. Like with Movement, how you doing? Good to see you. We appreciate you on the show. Thank you so much for tuning in and joining with us on today. Shakur's bag is with Ryan Garcia. Now, wait a minute now. Ryan Garcia's at 147. He got his own fish that he needs to fry right now with him trying to defend his belt and potentially get the rematch he's been looking for a number of years. I don't know if Shakur and Ryan will be working together or getting a fight with each other first. Because again, if I remember correctly, Ryan is still on that quote-unquote other side of the street when it comes to the world of boxing. Him with the DAZNs, with the Top Ranks, the Golden Boys, all those pieces of the pie that are finally together, he and the Shakur completely on the other end of the spectrum. Would it be possible to have them be able to fight each other? Yeah. Could it be fun? Absolutely. Would it be one of the most intriguing fights that we would have this year? No doubt about it. But would it happen? Most likely no. If we're going to go by the structure of who's going to allow who to work with who. Dana says he's one year again. Shakur can go and make whatever fights that he wants. Shakur says he can go and make whatever fights he wants. That's perfectly fine. It's still, like we said last week, the other end of the spectrum has to also meet you in the middle to make this stuff happen. And they've been adamant, we don't want to work with you. In turn to Zuffa. Not Shakur. We love Shakur. We don't want to work with Zuffa as a whole. That may be a problem, potentially. Coupled with the fact that also Shakur still at 140. Thinking about coming back down to 135. Murataya, Mason, shoot, even Gervonta Davis is in that topic of conversation. Ryan Garcia is at 147. Ryan Garcia will never take a catch weight again in his career. I promise you. Or drop back down again in his career. I'm almost assured he's not doing that game again. He's at 147. He's champion there. He's there to stay. You want to fight him, most likely you got to come up there unless you are one of the four biggest names in the sport on his level of marketing. Ain't many, even with people that you can say are better fighters than him, ain't many that are at that threshold. Maybe Shakur's, you want to say Shakur's at that threshold? Okay, fine, sure. That still is, would he even want to put his body through that again? With all the drama that he had to go through with the Tank situation and then ballooning up in weight to go and fight Devin Haney, which again, he willingly came in overweight because I'm not putting my body through that stress of trying to cut down. We ain't playing that game. And I guarantee you he's not. So I don't know if we're going to get that fight with Shakur versus Ryan because it would have to be when Shakur gets up to 147. When will that be? Lord knows. Who knows? Who knows? Because he's not. Because again, if he was fighting Devin Haney at 147, would not have been a struggle. I don't think it would be a struggle if he did go up and fight up there. But hey, that's just me. But it ain't Shakur. Per Shakur's own actions and way he's been operating at this point in time, negotiating with fights. But let me see what you had to say. Like with Love King, the biggest fight for Shakur is Tank Davis. And that is the X factor. Now, I didn't bring up Tank strictly because Tank is not in the picture. Again, the biggest likely, tangible, magnum opus of a fight is absolutely Devin Haney at this current point in time. The ultimate fight, though, without a doubt, is indeed Tank Davis. There's two different things. There are two different things. They are two different things. They're not the same. Because both of them are in different, different attainability levels. Tank versus Shakur is absolutely the biggest fight we could have at this point in time, or at any given point in time, with Shakur's career as it's reaching its zenith, without a doubt. However, Devin Haney versus Shakur is the biggest fight that can actually happen at this point in Shakur's career, regardless of any other outside sentiment. There is a tangible likelihood we can get Shakur versus Devin Haney. The likelihood that we get Tank versus Shakur is incredibly low. because of what everything that Tank's doing right now or not doing right now. But in terms of the grandeur, sure, Tank will be the biggest thing, without a doubt. But we can't bank on that fight being the biggest fight that we can actually get, because it's most likely at this point in time, it ain't happening anytime soon. I wish it was. I wish we were getting that fight as quick as tomorrow. I wish we had, now again, like I said, I've had my speculations with Zuffa. I wish we got Tank signing with Zuffa tomorrow. That would at least show us he's doing something. Huh? I would at least be happy for that. He's at least making a move. There's a direction I can see this going. There is the tangibility starts to get even more reliable. We can actually sense something may actually shake up. More than just talk, more than just Twitter, more than just all the stuff that we see online with Tank Davis and talking with his team, leaving his trainer, going back to his trainer, not relationship with Calvin Ford, good relationship with Calvin Ford, trash talking on social media, getting a burner account like he's Kevin Durant, all this other stuff. It's too muddy to see that fight even coming to fruition. If it did, though, without a doubt, Tank versus Shakur would be the biggest fight of the year. It would. I don't think it would. The only other comparable fight that would be as big would potentially be Benavidez or Canelo. Benavidez versus Canelo. In a way, versus Bam wouldn't even be as big as Tank versus Shakur. Devin Haney versus Ryan Garcia may get close, but I would think, even with the amount of rivalry that we've seen with Devin Haney and Ryan Garcia, that fight may not come to the same fever pitch of outright intrigue from everybody across the globe as we would see with Tank or Shakur. That is the absolute biggest fight, most likely, we can get at this stage in boxing right now. But this ain't gonna happen. It ain't gonna happen. It's nowhere in close. It's nowhere close to a level of active possibility, because we're dealing with Tank. Stuff can change and shift. He can sign and move and do all this stuff, and all of a sudden, we can look back at this and say, I was a fool. Right now, the biggest fight is possible. Yes, it's Devin Haney. For Shakur, it's Devin Haney. It is. And who will be wrong? Or rather, who will be mad at that? I don't think anybody will be mad at that. Again, we're trying to build up this grandeur story for where Shakur could get, or what he needs to do to get to that fight ultimately. Yeah, sure, we want it to happen next, but if it doesn't, well, we got to go and try to see how else we're going to see him map out his career. So the active biggest fight that can happen, if not Tank and Shakur, Devin Haney versus Shakur Stevenson in Shakur's career. If that fight's going to happen, Conor Benn's going to have to be in the equation. Almost assuredly. Conor Benn would most likely be the third fight or second fight in Shakur's run with Zuffa. I could absolutely see that happen. If he takes on, if Conor Benn takes on Shakur first, dang, that's a big move. That's a huge move. That is a insane type of fight. If that's the first fight he's taking on under the Zuffa promotion. Now, again, we know, is he going to beat him? Most likely, yeah. Is he going to win? Most likely, yeah, in terms of Shakur. But just taking that initial fight like that, all right, expedites the process to get the ultimate end goal that we're looking for. And that's all I'm waiting on. That's what I want. The ultimate end goal. I'm looking for Shakur. Excuse me, that's in my eye, my apologies. I'm looking for Shakur to follow through with what he said he wanted to do, which is take on big fights, take on big challenges, take on, if it's not about the championships, which he has said publicly, then it's got to be about the names. If that's the route that Shakur has said he wants to go, That's our expectation that we have to hold now. If you are indeed saying undisputed is not the thing that you care about, if it's not the thing that drives you, if it's not the thing that pushes you to the limit of what you desire as a boxer, again, as we saw last week when we were discussing this whole topic, we have to change our expectations of what we should be seeing from Shakur. Not going against the standard of what we say should be in boxing, but this is going with what we know now. That's the reality of his own mentality. And again, if you missed it yesterday, this is what we were talking about. If you missed it on Friday, this is what we were talking about. I'm not really thinking about disputed. I just want the biggest fights. I want to fight the guys that the fans want to see me fight. That's cool. That's great. If championships are secondary, now talent becomes the most fervent thing that we need to see you take on and beat, or at least face off against, even if you lose. And now the expectation of, if this is the case, we shouldn't have to be worrying about, you ain't got a belt, you're not my problem. This is what is the biggest dude that is the biggest threat. Well, you need to take him on because that's what you said you wanted to do. That's what I mean when we say we got to change our perception of what we're going to view when we're talking about Shakur's career. From this point on, if this is what he's saying. Because if the legacy is about the names, which it should always be about, great. Now we just want to see it always come to fruition. And if so, I'm happy. I'm excited. And I can't wait to see what happens next. Without a doubt. But we still got more to cover on this show. We want to make sure we keep this thing going because we don't want to go and lament or lament any talk and conversation too long for too much and to get you all not invested, as we still have more to cover on this show. We finally got the first face off between Romero and Teofimo Lopez going down, fighting each other for Rolly Romero's belts at 140 pounds. And now this is getting a little bit more interesting because this now has gone into where this fight's happening. It straight up is happening. And we now have a potential, cornerstone moment for both of their careers. And we don't, every fight isn't this, but this fight is fitting of that bill. Because there's a lot on the line for this fight, even for those who may feel, oh, we think Teo's going to win. And be clear, I also do think Teofimo Lopez is going to win this fight. That doesn't change the fact of what's on the line with this fight. It's a huge situation, specifically for Teofimo Lopez. There is a lot to lose, more than just a championship opportunity for Teofimo Lopez if he goes up to this division, 147, which he's moving up to, and then goes and falls short and fails against Roy. Before I even. No, it is at 147. Oh, hold on. Wait a minute. Let me check it. Hold on. Let me check and make sure it is at 147. You're doing a quick check to make sure I got it. Okay, yeah, he's at 147. Okay, he is at 147. So, Ford Rolly's belt, 147 pounds. In Teo's first stint at this elevated division. Now off the backs of a very dominating loss at the hands of Shakur. This being his third loss in his career. It's his second or third loss in his career. He lost to Rolly 17. Okay, yeah, second loss in his career. For many people, 3 losses in boxing is the oh no type of situation. Even with as big of a star as Teofimo Lopez. And Teo is a fighter who right now has a need to redeem himself because of the amount of ridicule, the amount of a lot of people laughing at him after that loss. If you go see the reaction social media online, immediately afterwards, and they're not throwing Teo away. But there's a lot of everybody, all right, everybody's starting to look and say, if you can't come back from that, but the takeover might be over. You might have gotten taken over fully to the point that you can't recover. There's no more taking back whatever you lost. after this situation. I guarantee you. And I'm going to tell you this right now. Rolly is the perfect opponent to put that nail in the coffin for fans looking at you and saying, okay, this guy, he got the best of himself beat out of him by Shakur. Because of the standing of Teo and Rolly. There's most people that look at this fight, with all due respect to Rolly, most people, myself included, look at this fight. Rolly Romero is not a better fighter than Teofimo Lopez. Most people looking at this fight look at this as a one-sided affair. We should see Teo become a champion in another weight class, which would be, I believe, his third weight class that he was. It was the third or fourth weight class that he's been a champion in if he goes and beats Rolly Romero. There's an abundance of people that feel like Rolly Romero should be beaten. Maybe not knocked out, but completely outclassed because of the drastic gap in perceived skill and ability and boxing talent, boxing IQ, and all that stuff that we've seen Teo have over the course of his entire, at this point in time, would be confirmed as just about a Hall of Fame level career, even though he's still in his prime of boxing and physically with age. But if he loses to Rolly, that would be demoralizing. That would be a nail in the coffin. Okay, yeah, this brother is getting bad. It's getting bad. Because that, to me, this should not be a fight that he should lose. And this is with respect to Rolly Romero being able to improve. We've said he's more mature. We've said he's drastically better than he used to be. We've said that this brother has learned and been more patient and more, some people use the word docile. I use the word collected. Than we've seen this entire career as a fighter. Genuine. It's a shock to the system. It's a shock. We never expect. Let me say I, because I'm not gonna say we. I never expected to have a Rolly Romero that I can look and confidently say, this man is a changed and smarter fighter and person. Outright. On the whole. And that's a good thing. And it shows inside the ring, at least for the first fight back. But at the same breath, we were looking at Rolly Romero, didn't want to fight Devin Haney, didn't want to rematch Ryan Garcia, and turned down nearly every fight that was on the table for his own championship that he has to defend. And these are some big names. I'm not going to fight, what did he say? I'm not going to fight Shakur, he's boring. I'm not going to fight Devin Haney, he's boring. Rematching Ryan Garcia, I think he said I don't really want to do that. But it was like we were asking where in the world. It's been over what? It's been almost, no, not almost. It's been over a year since he defended that title. And in that point in time, we had seen other people around him fight multiple times, win a championship like Ryan Garcia, go and get themselves back on their feet. Even Brian Norman Jr., after losing demonstratively to Devin Haney, came back and had a win under his belt. How in the world? Devin Haney was pushing negotiations for 3 different people. Whether it was potentially Ryan Garcia, or Shakur Stevenson, or now Keyshawn Davis. He was actively at least making moves. Rolly was completely AWOL from any walk of life in respective to holding that championship and defending it. It was a problem. Big time problem. And because it was a big time problem, we were saying, what the world are you doing? The world are you doing? It's like the opposite of Bakram. People weren't scared to fight Rolly, but Rolly just was not doing anything. Bakram had a fight before we saw Rolly Romero get a fight right now with Teo. And Rolly could have fought well before Bakram. And after Bakram lost to Josh Kelly. I think even Josh Kelly, who's a champion right now at 154, got a title. It's either in the works or has a fight scheduled, one of the two, in quicker fashion than what we've seen with Rolly Romero holding over almost 400 days of a title reign without actually defending that belt in the slice. I'm sorry, I got an eyelash in my eye. But the point being, we're looking at Rolly Romero and we're saying you look like you have been avoiding competition. The public eye has been saying that you've been avoiding the level of smoke necessary to go and make your reign worthwhile. And that's a problem. And because of that, some people may say you're scared of a certain level of competition that you know you can't win in some fans' eyes. What does that mean in respect to Teo? Teo is even further bolstered into the fans' psyche, or rather bolstered up in the fans' psyche. He should get this win easy. Everything is for Teo to lose and getting wrapping back around because Teo has, in many fans' eyes, most of the advantages to make this thing work out in his favor. The redemption arc against a brother who, hey, had his own redemption in Rolly Romero, however, didn't sustain it in a way that had us have confidence. This brother really is about that level of action. But with the moving in the same way that we thought we would see. Pricing himself out in some people's eyes for fights that he should have. Making himself almost untouchable in a situation where even in a division that just now started to get even more names and notoriety, which is fair, he shouldn't be moving like he is the best brother out here and saying you got to reach a certain threshold to get up to me. And people viewing that, avoiding competition. All of this is to say, if Teo loses to Rolly, with all of this that we stated, it's going to be abysmal. You thought he was questioning himself after he had a struggling win against Sandor Martin. You thought that was bad. Let him lose to Rolly, even with this new mindset that Teofimo Lopez has had in and of himself. That's going to be a big confidence hit. I'll tell you, it's going to be a big confidence hit. And the fans are going to let him know it. It's going to be problematic. There is more than just a title opportunity to lose. There is potentially a big stem of self-confidence. Because we've seen Teofimo beat, sure, like he lost to Kambosos. However, that fight was at least, hey, I started to turn it on, but I just couldn't get it done in the last couple rounds. And I had a long issue in that fight, which was legitimate and real. Wasn't like that. He got beat in the way he's never been beat before, I think, in his entire career of boxing. Amateurs or professional. That can do something to somebody. That can do something to somebody. All losses are not the same. And what that can mean is that the next loss can be the straw that breaks the camel's back in somebody's confidence to be the fighter that they once were. Perfect example. Look at what you saw with the likes of Conor McGregor. Last win was against 2016. After specifically after that Nurmagomedov loss, it looked completely different. Sure, he won against Donald Cerrone. Since that point, that's the last win he's ever had in his career. Since then, it has been nothing but concern, questionability, even, before the knee buckling and completely going away. 10 seconds into the fight, when he fought against Max Holloway, this brother was not looking, moving, or projecting same level of mental fortitude. Those losses adding up aren't just numbers on a record. For some people, it's a blockade on top of a blockade on top of a blockade that starts to pile on and makes you harder to be the you that we know you can be. That's not that, and against Rolly, if he loses, that's what can happen. It should be a win. It should be a relatively dominant win. It shouldn't. If you want to say whether it'll be dominant or not, we can debate it absolutely. That's perfectly fine. I'm just telling you though, there's bigger things than just the title on the line for Teo at this stage right now. Because how does that loss mentally affect what you are as a fighter going forward, especially at new division? Because that wasn't just a loss that he had to Shakur. That was a complete domination. There is a clear barrier that you are not better than in a way that it doesn't even look like you can get close to it unless you go and overhaul yourself. That's a different type of defeat. You can get over it, but it's a whole lot harder. Because there was no one punch made a difference. There was no, I could have done one thing and everything else could have shifted. There was no, I was 10 seconds away from having this fight go in my favor. Wasn't that? It wasn't I just hit him 2 centimeters too high on top of the head. Any lower, it would have been a knockout. I could have had this fight in the bag. There's none of that. There's no fluke shot. There's no slow count. There's no cheating. There's no spiked water. There's no egg in the glove. There's no nothing that can go wrong that can go and say why you lost this fight, except for you were not good enough on every single front. And you've been one of the most physically gifted and dominant stars that we've had in boxing today. That is undeniably true. And because that's undeniably true, that can, some ways, change your fighter for the worse. We will find out. We will. Just know that's what's on the line. That is what's on the line. And as the fight itself, Teo and Rolly, Teo is going to have to worry about Rolly's power. I think in a way that he may not have had to worry about other people's power in the framework of 135 or 140 and now 147. Because this, I dare say, and this is with all respect to Teo and his power, again, knocking out almost everybody he faced off against at 135, which was, at this point in time, the best productive division he was in throughout the whole of his career, capping it off by beating Lomachenko. I don't think he's ever gone against somebody this capable of a puncher. Dare I say that might be a better straight-up puncher than the likes of Teo. If I'm wrong, please enlighten me. Please. If I'm wrong, please enlighten me. I would love to know. I would love to make sure I'm on the right track. But to my knowledge, if I'm going through the entirety of Rolly's career, of Teo's career, I understand fully that Rolly is not the best fighter he's faced up against. I am also almost assured, though, this would be the best puncher that Teo's ever faced off against. Again, Rolly is 17-2 with, 13 KOs of those 17 fights that he's had. One of those KOs is, again, Barroso's, who he literally did not touch at all, but he still got the win anyway to retain his belt at that point in time at a smaller division. But I digress. 13 KOs on record, 12 KOs legitimate that he has in 17 fights, or in 17 wins that he said he won. That's impressive. Teo 22-2, 13 KOs as well. Again, and we call Teo a phenomenal puncher. Most of those knockouts, though, came at 135. I think we're dealing with a level of power I don't think Teo's ever had one-to-one go against him in his career. Lomachenko's been the best footwork that he's ever faced off against. Absolutely. Kambosos did knock him down, but also Kambosos was not known to be a big-time puncher, and the lung issue also could have taken effect as to why that he wasn't able to not to get out the way, but take the damage like we normally see. Though he still lost the fight, without a doubt. There's no controversy there. But as a raw power, this could be a problem. This could be a huge problem. Teo could be in a situation of a dangerous light, going up against somebody that even the likes of Gervonta Davis had to say, I have to respect what he brings to the ring. Ryan Garcia fighting against him, got knocked down, and this was a conservative version of Rolly Romero. Remember, when Ryan Garcia got caught with that left hook, that was Rolly Romero countering. And then to some degree, not even fully. After that left hook, he didn't even try to go and throw anymore. He went and was more judicial. But one shot, cut him on the temple, knocked him down. This is a level of real, what used to be reckless power, like we saw against Tank, is now a more thought out, methodical, punch placing level power. It's more deliberate than we've ever seen in his career before. That's what Rolly Romero is from the perspective of the opponent that he is against Teo. Teo has never faced somebody, to my knowledge, with this level of out-and-out power, like with Rolly Romero, even though he outclasses him in every other aspect. That's where stuff can get scary. That's really the biggest X factor in this fight. The power of Rolly Romero and the explosiveness of Rolly as well. Because that brother may go, yeah, 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 yeah. He may go all that. You may be hearing that when you punch, or you may be hearing that when he punches. What you also see, this brother can close the distance incredibly quick. We can laugh about it, sure, but the one thing he's got, and one thing that helped in that fight, specifically with Tank before he got knocked down, that Tank had to kind of regroup and redirect how this fight was going to go. He had to deal with the amount of explosive closing speed when Rolly starts throwing shots. He had to deal with it. And because of that, there was some concern. Because when Teo gets on you, he can get on you. He really can. We're dealing with a level of concerning power that Teo may not have ever had to face before, specifically now in a bigger division. That, hey, looking at them face to face against each other, I didn't realize, I thought Teo was a whole lot taller and bigger than Rolly Romero, but he's only 5'9" to Rolly's 5'8". His reach is only half an inch longer at 68.5 inches to 68 outright. Facing up against each other, they are actively eye to eye, nose to nose, face to face. Rolly may have, some smaller shoulders than Lopez. That's about it. Everything else is low-key a little bit identical. A little bit, and it's a scary thought. It is, as you can see right here. I'll give you a picture of what exactly they look like facing up against each other over here as we transition over into picture really quickly. But this fight, it is like, look at this. They're nose to nose, legit. They're nose to nose with each other. But, excuse me, not nose to nose, but just about. Just about. And if Teo cocked his head down just a little bit, they're looking eye to eye. It ain't that big of a physical difference from what I expected it to be. Now, sure, Teo looks like he filled out fine. Rolly Romero got a shirt on, can't really see how much defined or muscle-wise he's looking at this point in time. That's irrelevant. The fact of the matter is, this chin is touchable by Rolly. This chin, if he gets too loose, can get cracked by Rolly. And unlike Teo against Kambosos, if he gets caught with that same overhand right that we saw Kambosos catching with, there's going to be a concern. This buddy can get dropped and not get up. For real. For real. For real. For real. There's some real concern that because this brother, like against Sandor Martin, when Sandor Martin clipped him twice, didn't hurt him, but he caught him right on top of the head while he was off balance. And the brother went down. If those same shots get landed on by Rolly, who's now turned into a more thinking fighter, who is actively looking for openings just like that, now You get clipped upside the head when you off balance against Rolly. That's a situation you could get put down and potentially not get up because your equilibrium is all out of whack. Because it don't take much for Rolly to go amongst everything we've said may be a problem for his fighting style. It don't take much for that brother to catch you and put you on Dream Street. It don't. It don't take nothing but a shot. It don't take nothing but a shot.
We got some problems here.
That's some concern. Though there's a level of respect that we need to see Teofimo have against Rolly, because if not, this can end in a very dangerous way. And be clear, I think he is respecting it, and I think he sees the urgency, because he went on inside the ring and was talking about what exactly he was going to do to Teo, or to Rolly, excuse me, in no uncertain terms. And I'll go and play the clip right here. But I think this showed you the gravitas of Teofimo Lopez's need to win. Because if he doesn't, not only is it's going to be bad, and there's some urgency and danger that he's got to take really seriously going up against Rolly. But I'll play the clip right now so you all can see exactly what he had to say. And excuse the language if everything goes through. Well, we apologize in advance. We're trying to be family friendly, so sponsorships can come and join in with us. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge, and all that good stuff. But I'll let it play right here for you all to witness and see.
I'm going to beat the living dog shit out of Romero. I think the most important part about this whole thing is really that what I did at 135 is what I see at 147. My mind is really set on this, guys. I'm not gonna lie. And when my mind is set on something, I go out there and I take it. So with all that being said, I'm going to beat the living dog shit out of Romero. I'm going to. So
again, we apologize for the language, just so you know. But the biggest thing, he says it's going to be the mess at him. If this keeps on going, but it's locked in, that's no problem. What I'm concerned about, what did he say? I think he said, if I can find I think it's up here. What I did at 135 is what I see at 147. This is where I'm really concerned with this quote. Because can we really say that he's the same fighter at 135? He can be that again at 147. If this is why he's thinking he can beat Teofimo Lopez, that's where I'm really concerned. Also, we got people in the chat, like with Beach Skull. How you doing? Good to see you. We appreciate you on the show. Thank you for joining in on the live with us today. Hopefully you're having a phenomenal time. Hopefully you're enjoying our show right here on the afternoon this Tuesday, starting off this week off strong with a bunch of entertainment and fun right here on the Watch What. And please, if you would, we got 6 people in the chat. Leave a like on the video. 1 like makes a world of difference to help us to reach the matches all across the globe. But the betting odds for this fight, give me a second to look it up real quick. Let me see if I can find the odds while we are talking. Again, right now we're talking about the likelihood of if Teo does lose to Rolly, what would that do to Teo, and how he can lose to Rolly if this fight does indeed go. All right, let me see the odds right now for this fight. It's coming up. I'm not sponsored, by the way. I'm not backed by anything. Strictly using the odds just to give you a take as to what the public perception of this fight is at this current point in time for who the public favors to win. And right now it's Teofimo Lopez at -230 and Rolly Romero at +175. So it's Rolly as the underdog by roughly +170. Which means you bet $100, you win 171 bet. It's 178 bet. Teofimo Lopez -230. You bet you would need to bet $230 to gain $100 back. I'm not advocating betting. I'm just telling you the odds and explaining what they mean to those who may not understand. Because like me, I had to learn all this stuff. Because I don't bet. Yeah, I know the numbers. I know minus means you're a favorite and plus means the underdog. But the ins and outs of it, that ain't me. I don't bet. I'm just telling you what's going down. But that's the odds right now. Rolly -230. Rolly +178. T.O. minus 230. And in fact, I'll pull up the book right now so you can actually see it publicly in case I'm messing up some of these numbers. And so that's how it's going down. Most people feel Rolly Romero is going to lose. It's going to lose. Don't be surprised if this starts ticking up. We get to you at 250, 270, 300 at some point in time as the build up to this fight goes through. Do not be surprised, because I'm telling you, many people feel Teofimo Lopez is leagues better than Rolly. I'm just explaining. There's a concern with Teo because Teo is saying, I'm going to be what I am at 147, just like I was at 135 pounds. Mind you, at 135 pounds, this brother beat the pound for pound best brother in the world in Lomachenko. He is not that fighter at this point in time, right now. Am I wrong? Am I wrong? If Teo is saying that he can be the same guy at 135 that he was at 170, if Teo is saying that he can be the same person at 135 again at 175 pounds, am I wrong to look at him and say that may be a little bit crazy? Because we have clearly not seen that level of domination in power since that time. Sure, the boxing skills have translated, absolutely. And we're not holding this loss against Shakur against you in a way that, oh my gosh, you're washed. I'm not saying that either. What I am saying, you are not what you were at 135. You are not one of the most dangerous punchers in this entire sport. You are not putting people to sleep left, right, and center with anything that you throw. You still got your combination. You still got your ability to be offensively unique, but you ain't the same level of power puncher. You cannot be what you were at 135 pounds up here at 175, because you have yet to show that your power is able to translate still the same. We're not saying you ain't strong. We're not saying that your punches still don't hurt. They do, but they ain't hurting like that. You ain't swatting like that. You are not knocking down pins like you were when you were running the world at 135 pounds. When you were the biggest threat to Tank at 135 pounds. When we wanted to see you versus Devin Haney, if it ever was able to happen, at 135 pounds. You're not, you ain't that. And if you think you're gonna be that going up against Rolly, that might not be a game you want to play. That could end very badly. That could end incredibly badly. If you try to play the power game against Rolly when you have yet to show you have power up at these elevated divisions, that could be a problem. It could be a problem. If he is a captain. Let me see. What's your assessment? Why do you feel Teo will win? Wasn't Rolly outboxing Tank till he got caught? Tank. So, yeah, it was. Granted, it was still in the same limelight. Tank gives up rounds, activates his game plan, and then goes and takes over. But yeah, he was beaten. Or on many people's scorecards, he was at least ahead, tied, or gaining control to where Tank, you may be in a little bit of trouble. At minimum. But yeah, we understand it. And I truly believe, even since then, Rolly, to some degree, that aggressiveness helped to utilize or to maximize that power that made Tank be like, oh, shoot, I gotta be a little bit concerned. He's a smarter fighter now than he was against Tank from the way he approaches trying to box at this point in time, at least from what we saw in the last fight with Ryan Garcia. Not saying Ryan Garcia is Tank. I'm strictly saying the application of what he has done with his fighting. We have all said he looks different. And we've all said it's a good different, not a bad different. That could be the same thing that happens when he goes up against Teo. Sure, he could go in and give him some trouble. He could go and potentially outbox him. It's possible. It really is. Truly it is. But at the same time, Rolly going forward has always been his best weapon. Teo, forward and backwards, can be equally as good. Because of that, even with the new dimensions that we see Teofimo having now, and off the back of the performance against Ryan Garcia, I'm not going to sit here and say what worked then is going to work against this type of opponent, because now this is a better mover, a more active mover even than Tank. And we're not saying Tank can't move. We're saying Tank isn't the guy that uses his footwork in the same way as Teo, and he can still counter you off the back foot and make it so that you aren't able to gain any momentum on the front foot. And Rolly, if you can put Rolly fighting backwards, that can be an incredibly hard problem. Rolly was going forward against Tank. Every round every round that people wanted to give him, he was going forward. He was pressuring and using that aggression and the threat of his power, and also good shot placement to go and put Tank in a very, to some degree, scared position. Not scared to say, oh my gosh, but like, ooh, okay, he's coming through. I feel the power. I got to be mindful. But if Teo was able to put Rolly on the front foot, sure, Rolly can still counter. He can still get his way out of it. But it's going to be a whole lot more difficult. Whole lot more difficult. And going backwards, though the power may not be the same as a Tank, the countering ability of Teo, if you do get too aggressive, is still right there. Because again, Rolly is not Shakur or Tank. And for Teo, Rolly is, in my opinion, made that whatever way I want to handle you, I can handle you. If you want me to go and fight on the back foot, I can go and jab, get you to throw something, counter, and slip under your shots, because he's done it multiple times. If you want me to come forward and pressure you, like I did against Barboza, I can start coming forward. I can still be elusive. I can jab, roll under, throw some combinations, do some of the stuff that I tried to do against Shakur, and it will work against you because you're not the same defensive fighter. And I can be elusive while gaining ground on the opposition and put you in a dangerous position because you are not a great back foot fighter and roller. Lateral movement, I need to go left to right to make you have to follow me and track me. I can do that as well. Because Rolly is, again, he's a lot more patient, but he still isn't the best of movers going left or right. Even against Ryan Garcia, he didn't necessarily cut off the ring against Ryan Garcia, did he? He tracked him. He still, again, he won the fight, be clear, but Ryan was still able to circle and not necessarily get caught in the corner as much as you would want from somebody who was afraid of what Rolly was going to throw because of his hand injury, and he'd already got knocked down early in round 2 or 3. And the whole fight, it was Rolly, he was in front of him, but he rarely did he cut him off and stop Ryan's ability to say, okay, I got some room that I can move. Even though his movement wasn't working greatly, it was still exits and opportunities. You give Teofimo Lopez that, it's going to be, oh, I'm good. I know I always got a way out. And I know I can go and get to you and put you in a dangerous position where you're not comfortable after I exit. Yeah, that's going to be a problem. And I got stamina for days. That can be a problem. That's why I'm saying I think Teo will be able to win. There's too many elements in Rolly's game. While he's smarter, he still hasn't elevated his skills to the point that type of fighter, he's able to say, yep, my mind and my body are fully enough to beat you regardless of whatever you do. There's some certain things that Teo's going to be able to do that if Rolly faces that, he ain't going to be able to do nothing with it. If it's Teo on the back foot, outside of a big time counter, he ain't gonna be able to do nothing with it. If it's Teo moving laterally and jabbing, going left to right, consistently making Teo have to go and try to track him down, and in the midst of that, if you pick wrong, that's a 3-punch combination, and now you got to do the dance over again. That's gonna be a problem. If it's a outside war, sure, you may be able to win it better, but also you're dealing with a more elusive fighter than you had against Ryan Garcia, who, if you do punch wrong, you're liable to get caught with a straight right or straight left if I want to switch stances. And next thing you know, now you got to try to track me. And while you trying to track me up, boom, I'll catch you again. Now Teal's in the groove. Now he's comfortable. Now he's starting to tap his toe on his glove as he's walking forward, dancing and moving, getting you trying to chicken neck at you, get you all out of whack, out of sorts, starts to bob and get comfortable. And the next thing you know, up, there's another jab, up, ooh, not a jab, I'm slipping, uppercut, step to the right, hook again, find me. It's going to be like that. It can be a problem. It can get dangerous. It can get really dangerous. Let me see. Who would you say had the fastest hands, Teo or Ryan? And you see Rolly was able to neutralize Ryan's speed. He was able to, that speed disparity, it wasn't even speed disparity. Ryan Garcia was still a faster puncher than Rolly. But again, at that point in time, he only had the left hook, and that other right hand injury made it so he didn't want to throw the shots that could have helped make the difference. He still got beat, but the hand speed was still, Ryan was faster, but he was just throwing the same punch every single time. And when that punch wasn't landing, there was no other answer. It was none whatsoever. None. He couldn't do anything. But he still had the better hand speed. But because you neutralized the one punch, all that speed went irrelevant. And you didn't need to be faster. You just needed to know what was coming. And Rolly knew what was coming, because there was nothing else Ryan did in that fight, injury or not. This Ryan Garcia would have had a league's better time. That the one that beat Mario Barrios would have had a league's better time against Rolly than the one that we saw against Rolly Romero on that night in New York City. I can promise you that. I can promise you that. Because it wasn't the speed, it was the shot selection that he neutralized. Somebody can only put it in basketball terms. Somebody got one move. It's a good move now. Somebody's got one move. Off the dribble, it's a double crossover into a drive and pull up. Stop on the dime. If you beat him to that spot and he can't pull up like he wants to now, he's trying other stuff, but it ain't working because nothing else is in the bag to make it happen. That's the problem when it came to Rolly. Teo, even though what we saw against Shakur was complete nullification, that is not going to happen against Rolly, because Rolly cannot nullify what Teo brings to the table, because there is still many bags of tricks to his game. Now, if his dad isn't smart and trains him properly, or trains him improperly, and doesn't capitalize on, hey, getting into that bag a little bit more, we could see the same thing happen. If he does, though, it's going to be hard for me to see him be able to win. It's going to be hard. It's going to be really hard. Let me see. While he's in Vegas, the best boxing training in Vegas, what can Teo do that doesn't exist in training environment, Las Vegas landscapes, that can't be duplicated with Rolly training? I don't know specifically what training he can do. I just know specifically when they fight what can work. Training-wise, unless Rolly just reverts back, we know Rolly's going to be patient. Working on better hand-eye coordination, being able to recognize what's coming and when openings are available. That's going to be Rolly's training most likely, or at least a part of it, because it worked. At the same threshold, Teo, based on what we saw against Shakur, is going to be more legitimate I got to find more ways to be able to get to my opponent. Because I don't want what happened that time happen to me again. Because even Teo fell into the same trap. Jab to the body started every single attack. Jab downstairs was the biggest thing that started every exchange for Teo. No matter what else he did, he kept going with that same jab downstairs to the body or straight down to the body, and then everything else is whatever. But once Shakur caught that, he caught everything else because there was nothing new in that regard. Similar to the same vein that we saw against who? Ryan Garcia and Rolling. So there are some similarities here. Difference is, I can definitely see Teo changing that and making sure that that's not a problem and become unpredictable again. Or at least less predictable again, like it used to be. Even the fight with Barboza. Go look at the fight with Barboza. A whole lot better varied offense of what he was able to get off on his opponent whenever he was fighting. Again, Shakur is a different breed. We understand. Shakur is a different breed. We're not comparing this man to Shakur. He's not Shakur. He's not. This fight will not be like the Shakur fight. I'm just telling you, it's going to be different. Different in a good way, but different nonetheless. Let me see. Jay Riggs, yo, what's good with you? Welcome back. Salute to you. How you doing? Good to see you. We thank you so much for tuning in on our show today. Welcome to the Welch Report once again. Let me see what you had to say, Jay Riggs. I think the Rolly Teo friendship gonna play a big factor of going to dance. Let me say, hold on. Going to dance. That's going 12 rounds. Martin got robbed by Teo. Yes, he did. Sandro Martin did get robbed against Stevenson Lopez. And so did the old man who got robbed by Rolly, too. Yes, Barboza. It's going to be a battle of robbers. It's going to be... See, you all for that. You all for that, J-Rig. You all for that. But you also, you low-key right. You low-key right. It's true. It's a battle of two people that have had victories on their resume that should not have been victories if you look at the whole context of the fight. And that friendship between the two, I don't know if that's necessarily going to get in the way of this fight. And the reason is, what's at stake if either one of them loses? I don't think it's going to be just, whatever. You win, I win, it is what it is. You know, Jimmy Young and Ali, they fought against each other, but they try to take each other's heads off. Regardless. Friends, it's especially with the need for Teo to win this fight because he doesn't want to fall under that 3-loss threshold, which in boxing for most people is a very dangerous window to say you may be ending your career. I'm not saying it's fair. I'm not saying it's right. I'm saying if you listen to how people talk about a fighter with a 3-loss record or a 4-loss record, even if they're fighting comparable people, guess what? Everybody says, it can be bad. Or you're done. They don't look at you the same way. The money doesn't move the same way. Your status after those 3 losses to get back to the top, it's not the same unless you are, again, a Canelo or a Manny Pacquiao or somebody with a legendary career with like 50-something wins, and then now you got 3 or 4 losses. Okay, you're just a legend that's been in the game for a long time. That's why you are where you are. But it's difficult. It's difficult. Those 3 losses can make a world of difference. That's why Teo, if this friendship cannot come in the way for both of them of making sure whatever happens in this fight goes their way. If it's got to go and shift into we got to go and dog it out and straight up bad blood fuels in the midst of the fight, so be it. Because what's at stake? Rolly's been out for almost over a year, almost 400 days. This cat doesn't win, gets the championship taken away from him after already being out of the mind's eye of the boxing public. That's going to drop him down immensely from the rankings. People, he can talk, absolutely. But is he one of the bigger stars up here? There's still levels to this. And right now, his ticket to getting into those levels, even if his skill isn't necessarily there, is with the titles. Rolly versus Ryan Garcia for the titles is still an option. a bigger fight with a unification if he wins and a major payday. You don't want to, if you lose that, will we get that rematch with Rolly? I don't know. And Ryan Garcia without the belt. Ryan and Rolly was supposed to be a fight that was supposed to set up another fight. This belt is his ticket into those big time instances. I hope friendship doesn't get in the way, because if it does, and somebody else doesn't feel the same way, it can turn into it may not go 12. Or if it does go 12, it's a one-sided affair because you took it softly. Because that relationship skewed the need to flip the switch for this fight to be a fight. And if that happens, it can be bad. Honestly, do you think you don't see Shakur and Davis fight? And I don't. I really don't. It's shocking. I don't. Give up on Tank and Shakur. Tank will probably fight Manny Pacquiao or Adrian Broner before he fights Shakur. He might not. I don't think he's going to fight Adrian Broner. And Manny Pacquiao, that might actually be on the table if it does come to fruition, the Manny Pacquiao fight. But yeah, for who's next in Shakur's career, if we're going to talk about Tank, I can't bring Tank up. I can't. I really can't. I can't. I don't. I want to, but I can't. Oh, you mean Keyshawn? Okay. Keyshawn Davis. Okay. All right. I see. My bad. Keyshawn Davis is who you're discussing. I can't see that fight happening either. Not now, anyway. And I've said this before. I'm going to say it again. And this is it. And listen close, because this is going to be important. This is going to be important. I don't see that fight happening between Keyshawn Davis and Shakur Stevenson because of the friendship and because of the blood bond that they've had with each other as brothers. However, I can see that fight happening down the line if we see Keyshawn beat Devin Haney. I've said this before. The biggest mistake Shakur made in his career was giving Keyshawn Davis the opportunity to beat Devin Haney. Not because, I think Keyshawn's a better fighter than Shakur, but it's because of the pride and the personality of Shakur and the pride and personality of Keyshawn Davis. They both have to stand on top of the globe. They're friends with each other. They rock with each other. They're brothers with each other. At the same breath, they still want to both be the best in the land. But at this stage with their career, they can't do that without either beating each other or one-upping one another. And if you one-up the other, you're going to be able to say things that the other can't. Specifically, I'm the best in the world and I'm better than you. And if Keyshawn Davis beats Devin Haney, if that fight comes to fruition, and he gets to say on public stations everywhere across the globe, I'm the best in the world, I'm better than everybody, I beat Devin Haney first, nobody else can say that I beat him clean, guess what? He's going to be walking and talking in ways, it's going to be a slight at Shakur, whether he means to or not. Because he's going to be able to say things that Shakur may not be able to say. Or he's going to feel like he's entitled to a position that Shakur may feel like that's my spot. You talking mighty out there. This division's mine. That division's yours. Keyshawn Davis can come out and say, but I'm the best at all divisions. 135, 140, 147. It don't matter who. I'm betting all of them, including you. I should be number one in the world. I should be top 3. I should be top 5. That takes Shakur's spot. And there are going to be some fans that say, yeah, maybe he should be top 5. Maybe he should be top 3. He beat Devin Haney clean. Lomachenko couldn't even do that. Ryan Garcia couldn't even do that. Nobody could do that. Keyshawn Davis failed, and not failed, but, failed, like with sword. He beat The dude that everybody's wanted to see get beat in Devin Haney. The pride and joy, the savior of boxing. One of the two boring fighters in the sport are now out the picture for at least the immediate future because you went and took their O. Now you're the guy that we want to see as the most exciting man in boxing, or one of them. We want to see whatever you do. You got the money. You got the power. You got the A side. You can get whatever belt you want. It don't matter. You run the show. And because of that, Shakur gonna get hot. Because Keyshawn Davis gonna slip up and say something. He gonna slip up and do something. He gonna slip up and say something that gets Shakur Stevenson under his skin. Don't let them be in the same division. Now I'm moving up to 147. Now, brother, I'm the best up here. No, I'm the best up here. Well, we can't both be the best up here. And at some point, we may have said it will take $500 million to fight each other, but if you really feel that way, it ain't gonna take $500 million. Because now it ain't about the money. Now it's about, brother, I'm better than you. And everybody else is saying it. If you feel some type of way about it, come do something about it. Keyshawn Davis will go out his way and say that. I don't care how tight that bomb may be. I'm telling you, when that pride and that position of legacy that you've been looking for finally comes your way, you don't want to let it go, and you ain't going to let somebody take it from you or just say, hey, move aside. I'm the guy that still runs the place. No, you're not, because I did what you couldn't do, and you could have taken it first, but you didn't. I thank you for the opportunity, but because I accomplished and took advantage of that said opportunity, I get a level of clout that you don't. This win is bigger than your win. In less time, I've beaten a bigger level name than you at the time that you fought him. Don't forget, Tia was outside the top 10. He was, or rather, he was the 10th person in the world, or just outside of it for most people, myself included. Devin Haney is bona fide top 8 in everybody's account. That would be a bigger win. That would be a more impactful win, even though Shakur's win was incredible. And you did it in 15 fights. Everybody's talking about boots. Everybody's talking about Tank. But I'm in that conversation too. I'm telling you, it can get nasty. It can get nasty. It only takes one thing to make everybody say, oh gosh. This whole relationship gonna blow up. All because you let him get away with beating Devin Haney. If he does beat him. It's gonna be the way it can backfire really quickly. That's the only way I can see this fight happen. Outside of that, most likely we'll never see Keyshawn Davis versus Shakur unless he beats him and then gets to say straight up, I did something you didn't do, and slips up and says, I did something you couldn't do. If you don't like it, we got a ring. Come up to 147 and see what you got. And I ain't taking no catch weight either. I guarantee you that's what can happen. That's exactly what can happen. I can see it. I'm not saying I'm right. I'm just saying if we've seen relationships fall by the wayside before, this ain't nothing new. I'm just telling you that can happen. That can happen. Devin Haney fans stay trying to get Shakur and Keyshawn to fight. They do. I mean, I want to see it too. I'm on board with it. But like they do be saying it. I think Haney got Keyshawn. That's fair. That's fine. That jab, that strength, that ability, if he can keep Keyshawn from being able to not operate without smothering his work, yeah, he can absolutely beat him. He is still a phenomenal boxer. It's just the fact that would be, if he does get it done, that would be insane. I like Shakur, but why he signed to Zuffa now, he only has Ryo to fight? No, he's got Conor Benn. Be clear, he's got Conor Benn. He's got Conor Benn and he can fight. That Conor Benn fight would be the second biggest fight, or excuse me, it would be the second or third biggest fight he could have on Zuffa. It would be either Richardson Hitchens, Conor Benn, or ultimately Devin Haney and or Tank as the top 4 names he could fight under Zuffa. I would love to see that. Any of them. Conor Benn would be the fight that most likely would be the most action-packed out of them all. I don't want to see Richardson Hitchens, not because it wouldn't fit the plan, because it would be a fight that needs to happen. it would be a snooze fest because the way Hitchens fights and the way Shakur fights, that would be a boring fight to no end. I've said this, I think I said this a year ago. That's my nightmare scenario. Hitchens versus Devin Haney and Hitchens versus Shakur Stevenson. I don't want to see that fight at all because that fight would be, with the similar level of styles, boring as all get out. I would not pay money for that fight in particular because of the amount of blandness most likely would incur. And Hitchens and Shakur facing off against each other. That would be one of the worst experiences of my boxing tenure. I'd hate it. I would despise it. I mean, it would suck to kingdom come. Woo. But it most likely would happen on Zuffa. And it's there to happen on Zuffa. So most likely it will happen on Zuffa. Just know the likelihood of me paying for it is going to be far and few between. I can promise you that. Let me see. Dollar Bill knows Keyshawn got bricks in his hands and Devin is chinny. He is. He's chinny. He's got heart. But he can definitely get caught. That, I'm telling you, if Keyshawn Davis can work off or on the ropes, as in when he gets Haney to the ropes, and he can negate Haney's ability to clinch up or fight out of the clinch, it can change the course of that entire fight. The question is, can he? Will he? That's the real thing. That's what we don't know. Keyshawn has bricks when he looks bigger than everyone in every opposition in every division he's been in. Yeah, that's true. Well, that's not really true. Devin Haney didn't have power, he was bigger than everybody else. But this is why we're excited for 147. Because if he does fight Devin Haney, he would be at an either even playing field or at a disadvantage in size. And if he's able to still be the same guy, same power, that's great. I mean, even when he moved up to 147 against Albright, he did hurt Albright. I don't think he knocked him out, but he did hurt him. Couple times. He did show against Jermaine Ortiz at 140. My power just translate up. He did show that he is able to physically keep the same level of potential danger that he had at 135 when everybody was saying this brother's putting everybody to sleep. When he knocked out Lemos at 135, when Lemos came in at 168. If you remember that when that whole controversy of a fight happened. And he knocked him out in 2 rounds. I don't think his power is going to be a question. I don't think his frame is going to be a question. Because we've seen people at middleweight come down in a sanctioned fight to beat him, and the brother still knocked them out. It's going to be that length and talent now combined, like with Devin Haney. That's going to be a different test for Keyshawn Davis that he hasn't seen before. That's what Devin Haney brings to the table. That's why this fight's so exciting. I doubt that if they didn't have the same manager, I'd say you were right. They can settle that in Jay Prince's gym behind closed. See, you're right. Dang it. You right. But now, here's the thing. Because they were able to put a monetary value on that fight, because Shakur and Keyshawn were able to put a number on what it would take to make them fight each other, this makes me feel like it might not have to be settled behind closed doors, because if that was the case, they would have never put a number on what it would take to make them fight each other. There is a price for their brotherhood. They both agreed we can throw this away for 36 minutes if it's high enough. That opens the door that we can throw this away for potentially less if something else builds this up to where I want this on a public stage. I'm gonna get paid. We're gonna show the world who's the real dude. They're gonna make money off it regardless. But if they were really about just not fighting each other at all, they would have never put a number on it. They would have never put a number on it. And Jarrell Miller and Andy Ruiz, they're great friends. They did not want to fight each other, but they did it anyway. I brought up Ali and Jimmy Young. They did not want to fight each other, did it anyway. I think previously Muhammad Ali and Joe Frazier, if I remember, were good friends. Frazier was, if I remember correctly, Frazier was helping him out when Ali was away from boxing because of him being banned because of his stance going against the Vietnam War. And Frazier was when he was away, Frazier was there for him, supporting him. And then when he came back, it turned into a blood feud quick as can be. I'm the real champ. I'm the real dude. You ain't nothing. You a chump. You a gorilla. He said that publicly. He turned Black America against Joe Frazier. Y'all forget to go. ESPN did a phenomenal article on the 50th anniversary of that whole fight, the build-up to the greatest fight, the literal fight of the century. The whole thing in the middle of everything. With Joe Frazier going to church, being a family man, doing all the stuff that America at that point in time all held up in high regard, and being the champ. This brother got the whole side of a nation turned against him when he was backing Ali after Ali made the right move not to fight. It went beyond just, we just trying to fight. Something pushed that envelope. And that went from friendship to blood feud, quick as a hiccup. I think they mended it, if I recall, after their boxing days were done. But regardless of which, that's what happened. And my gosh, it was ugly. It was ugly. That's why I'm saying friendships can turn into enemies without, it don't take, in the boxing game, this sport, when I say it's unforgiving, I mean it. The fact that the Klitschko brothers didn't fight against each other when they both were reigning as champions is incredibly insane. Charlo and his brother, Jamel and Jamal. If it wasn't for them being in different weight classes, I guarantee you with how much they've had potential spillovers in their relationship, how much they've had situations where one is talking bad about the other, I promise you they were up at each other's divisions. They might be fighting each other. I'm telling you. I'm telling you. It don't take much. For some people, it just don't take much. Let me see. Devin Haney has always been the bigger fighter. 2 fights he wasn't bigger. 1 he lost, and the other he ran. Now, I want to say the other one was Jermaine, or not Jermaine. Was the running fight Jose Ramirez? If I remember correctly, what was that? Was that the Jose Ramirez fight? I think you're talking about the Jose Ramirez fight. Now, was Jose Ramirez bigger than Devin Haney on that night? I thought Devin Haney was bigger than him, but he just didn't want to fight because he didn't want to get embarrassed because of what happened in the Ryan Garcia fight. So Bill Haney, who publicly came out, he had said that he made a game plan to make Devin Haney straight up jab, win the fight, don't do nothing reckless, don't do anything at all to secure this Ryan Garcia rematch. And we don't want to make nothing exciting. Make it boring. That's what I remember. Okay, so it was the Jose Ramirez fight. So yeah, he did run in that fight, absolutely abysmal performance. He ran, and then Ryan Garcia, he wasn't bigger, and he got beat up. But I see the PEDs though. That's the problem. That's why I hate the PEDs that Ryan Garcia took. Nobody cared that Ryan Garcia came in overweight, 108, gave up his shot at the title because he came in overweight, 143, and ultimately came in however big he wanted to come in on the night of the fight. Nobody says anything about that because everybody was saying that's what Devin Haney does every single night. Coining the term weight bully. That's what many people were calling Devin Haney. Now you're getting a taste of your own medicine. Nobody said a thing about anything else that Ryan Garcia did. It's the PEDs sullied what would have been a crowning moment for him. That's it. That's what his career would have looked like if he had beaten Devin Haney with the star power, with the type of fights that we could have had made, with what could have happened as his career is bolstered up even more. Who knows? Who knows? Doggone it, man. I hate the fact that he popped, because this what he did and what everybody's reactions were to that. If it was clean, good gosh, man, that would have been incredible. That would have been phenomenal. That would have been phenomenal. Let me see. That's why Haney has my respect now, because he wants to fight anyone now. For almost his entire career, he's been fighting just about everybody you could think of. All the biggest names he's actually been in the ring with, or almost in the ring with, at some point in time. I love it. I'm excited for it. I'm excited. Let me see. First, you got Ali to come back. Yes, he did. He did. Shakur next fight will be Hitchens or Ryo before the year is out. It's gonna be one of the two. I think it's gonna be. I think it's gonna be El Ryo. I think it's gonna be El Ryo. I'm not excited for that fight. I don't think it's gonna be an uber competitive affair. In fact, I was supposed to put up a clip about El Ryo while we were talking. When it came to him wanting to fight against Shakur, I think he had said something public about wanting to fight Shakur. If I can find the clip while I'm discussing it with you all, I'll be down. Well, here we go. Yeah, no, right. Not clip. It was right here. Jose Valenzuela, El Ryo went up and said on social media, on Twitter, as I'll zoom in real quick, "Welcome to Super Shakur. I'm your tune-up fight." El Ryo yesterday. Shakur Stevenson said, "No, you're not. I have to go say yes. Remember that." Then El Ryo said he's backing up already in a subsequent tweet afterwards, talking about him not getting the fight with, or Shakur Stevenson saying, "No, you're not going to fight him next." Here's the thing, though. We've seen Shakur say he's not going to do something before, and ultimately he does the thing. We saw him say he wasn't going to fight on Zuffa. Next thing you know, he's fighting on Zuffa. He said he said all these other reports that he was going to do this with Zuffa was a lie, and then it was true. Because of that, I'm very confident if we're going to get the first fight for Shakur under Zuffa, with Zuffa not wanting to waste time having him on a card, off of a big win for Ryo, who got virality, it would be El Ryo first, almost assuredly. Almost assuredly. It's either El Ryo or Conor Benn as 1 and 2, or El Ryo and Hitchens as 1 and 2, with Conor Benn being the third fight. But either way, El Ryo, he may be calling his shot. Shakur may say no, unless he's trying to fight Conor Benn outright first, or Hitchens outright first, which I don't think is going to happen. El Ryo is the most logical thing that makes sense. It's the most logical fight that makes sense for what can go down. I don't think there's anything better as an initial injection into the division at this new promotion that we can see. I don't think so. Let me see. Yeah, it was Ramirez, and yeah, it was way bigger. We need the PEDs. Money loves conspiracy theories. We need the PEDs. Money loves conspiracies. That's what made everyone want to watch the rematch with Wilder versus Fury. See, and I'll say this. Conspiracy theories, Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder, and other fights of the like, Devin Haney, Ryan Garcia, they have been able to add to a controversy that has caused the fight to be bigger than ever before. I would be remiss to say, without Glovegate with Deontay Wilder, we would have never had the trilogy that is the greatest heavyweight modern day trilogy we've had of this, quarter century in the last 25 years. That was the greatest modern day heavyweight trilogy we've had. We haven't had a whole bunch of them in the heavyweight regime. And that trilogy fight is one of the greatest heavyweight fights we've ever had in boxing history. That third fight between Wilder and Fury, we wouldn't have gotten that without the propelling of the conspiracies that Deontay Wilder was throwing out. Most of them, if not all of them, I think were wrong, but still, it happened. And it helped. Ryan Garcia, Devin Haney, the PEDs, it was a destructive force of a win for Ryan Garcia. But the PEDs have made everybody say, we want to see that rematch one more time. And it has gotten to heights that would still be the best in boxing today of one of the two biggest fights that could be possibly made if it, with those allegations fueling the conversation. Conspiracies do lead to insane levels of intrigue. It leads to insane levels of investment. Fans love an asterisk. They may say that they hate it, but fans love an asterisk. Fans love a controversial win. Fans love drama. And that's what these conspiracies are, drama. One side's fervently against it, one side's fervently for it, and everybody who's right in the middle gets to watch a ping pong battle of everybody going left and right, doing barbs, just talking everywhere, and it just builds in your excitement. I may not like them, but my gosh, there's a place for them. It's one of the best things about this sport. When you get a controversy coupled with a big-time fight with two big names, it turns it into something to behold. It's a perfect storm for where people say, when boxing does it right, there's barely anything in the globe that can beat it. Barely anything. It's even if you don't like it, it's ridiculous. And it's ridiculous because it adds to the story. Because boxing is storytelling. That's what makes the sport so beautiful. That's why we love it. That's why we appreciate it. That's why I fell in love with it. Basketball is a beautiful storytelling, but boxing's a whole different thing. The risk of every fight, your life is on the line, coupled with the legacy of what we've had with the giants of our version of Greek mythology standing at the helm of history. Ali, Marvin Hagler, Roberto Duran, Sugar Ray Leonard, Sugar Ray Robinson, Jack Johnson, Joe Louis, Jack Dempsey, Salvador Sanchez, Ricardo Lopez. We've had Henry Armstrong, so many, Ezzard Charles, so many greats that came before that are acting as a gateway into their own greatness of iconic status and legacy. All driven by the modern day trying to reach that same pantheon, following in the footsteps, taking from the greats, Roy Jones Jr., Jerron Ennis, Shakur Stevenson, Floyd Mayweather, Manny Pacquiao, old legends that are still coming back to go and push the envelope. Manny Pacquiao against Mario Barrios. We're seeing all these different tales unfold right in front of our eyes in a way that you almost couldn't do this with any other sport. You add the drama into it, it just makes for a perfect storm. It makes for an almost perfect storm of investment and intrigue that you with almost any other sport, you can't beat it. Just about, you can't beat it. Let me see. They could also cross-promote Shakur versus UFC fighter. Well, you know what? They tried to do that with cross-promoting Shakur on the most recent UFC card with Conor McGregor and Max Holloway. And I'll tell you this right now, it didn't work out pretty because they called Shakur Stevenson Jalen Williams of the OKC Thunder. They tried that. They did try, and they called Shakur Stevenson Jalen Williams of the former NBA champions, the OKC Thunder, and they called Terrence Crawford Kendrick Lamar. They've had a couple fighters that have gone there, and it's been big joint ventures. Next thing you know, they going through and they messing up the names, titles and everything, multiple times. It doesn't make any sense. I don't know how and I don't know why. I just know it ain't looking good. It ain't looking good. Remember Dana hasn't been the beneficiary of the boxer versus UFC fighter. Those UFC fighters made millions without Dana. You're right. You're right. You're absolutely right. And this is why we're getting a piece of the pie of Dana White now going into boxing. The money's there. Backed by Turkey Al Sheik, backed by TKO, and just had an absolute dud of a main event in what was supposed to be one of the biggest returns in UFC history with Conor McGregor turned into, nobody remembers all the first round knockouts of the entirety of the rest of the event. They don't remember Paddy Pimblett getting a victory. They don't remember anything else. They strictly remember, Dana, you put on a party that you had us waiting for Conor McGregor to come back, and this brother is not even fit to walk into the ring, let alone be something worthwhile for us to care about. For a lot of people, they lost their investment after that night. And Dana's been losing his own investment in the UFC, whether he wants to say it or not, with the way he's been acting and paying all these other fighters and not doing it with the UFC. And can't make new stars like he was able just to pump out left, right, and center in the UFC in the past. That's a problem. It's a problem. And Kendrick Lamar, I remember that's when they were first time using the spear for an event. Yep. It was. Well, Canelo was fighting the same night. Yeah, I'm telling you, it's bad. It's bad. They've been doing that multiple times. It doesn't make any sense. If you're not Mike Tyson or Evander Holyfield, I've seen them get people wrong. It's like, there's no way. There's no way. There's no way. It's impossible, but yet they made it happen. It's a shame. Shakur pillow hands and track shoes won't let him survive the UFC. Well, most likely not. Most likely not. I will say, though, if a boxer was able to get into the UFC and actually turn over and turn that into his domain, get acclimated, it can work. Clarissa Shields did it. What is she, 2-on-1 in MMA? I think she fought on Bellator, if I remember correctly. But 2-on-1 or 1-on-1 with some legitimate stoppages. If you teach them how to grapple, just to be able to stop takedowns, it makes their stand-up offense incredibly dangerous, because now you can't bring them to where they're most vulnerable. And we've seen multiple times boxing in the framework of the UFC. If you are an actual good technical boxer, you can go and conquer the world. Max Holloway, at his best, was considered the best boxer in the UFC. There was nobody in his division on the feet that was seen they can take him in that realm. Almost nobody. When he was on top, and that was it. That was still UFC level boxing, not boxing level boxing, UFC level boxing at the highest of levels that Max Holloway had. Nobody could touch him when he was standing up. That brother was insane. Or just about nobody could touch him standing up on the feet. It's a different art form between the two. But if you can get somebody to use their boxing knowledge and tap it into, you're able to actually sprawl and do what you need to do to make sure you don't get taken off your legs. They can be lethal. Rampage Jackson was a striker on the feet, a boxer more than anything. And that brother was able to go and become, I believe, light heavyweight champion at 205 and win in pride. We've seen it. Chuck Liddell was a crude boxer, but boxer nonetheless. On the feet, taking people out. Ilya Tapor, right now, yeah, he got beat by Justin Gaethje, absolutely. Got outboxed by Justin Gaethje, he did. But before that, putting everybody to sleep. The touch of death is what people will call him. Because he cracked you once. That's all it took. You were out before you hit the ground. Before Gaethje. And so it's like it can work. It really can work. It can, if you know what you're doing. Boxing can dominate in the UFC if you add good level ground game and clinch defense, it can work. I'm not saying it's perfect. I'm just saying we've seen it. It can be damaging. Rashard Evans, Rampage Jackson, Chuck Liddell, these strikers brought action to the UFC. They did. And we still got people bringing it now. It's just the fact that, and again, this is going a little bit out of the boxing realm, but it's just the fact that the UFC as a whole, their product is waned because their money, their pay has not been up to par. They've lost their own stars like Francis Ngannou, who should still be fixtures in the UFC division right now. They couldn't enforce what they need to enforce with John Jones. The rules for somebody and not for me, with even their aging stars, have made this division or this sport incredibly top heavy. In my humble perception, many fan favorites, Nate Diaz, the Korean Zombie, retiring. Demetrius Johnson, they lost out on him because they didn't want to pay him. He's in the Hall of Fame now. Sure, finally. But he should have been around for a lot longer in the UFC than he was if they actually just did right by him. But they didn't. Tried to literally brush him under the rug, even though he's one of the 3 greatest UFC fighters in the history of that organization. On par with Anderson Silva, John Jones, George St. Pierre, and whoever else you want to have amongst that pantheon. They did this to themselves with years and years of doing. They did a lot of right stuff, but the things that weren't working, that they didn't want to fix, that they didn't want to pay, started to pile up, and now we are where we are. Tom Aspinall is out of the UFC, or managed by Eddie Hearn. Until he gets paid correctly, he ain't gonna probably fight in the UFC ever again. Alex Perez got knocked out by Cyril Gane. Cold. Sure, 12 to 2 elbows, absolutely. But got knocked out regardless. Before that. And now that star power of invincibility, that's out. He's still a dominant star. But it's like, oh, that took the wind out of some of his sails. And now the rest of the division, not really that privy to a lot of big-time talent. There's a reckoning coming. And Dana White is to some degree neglecting it because he's going in watching and investing more into boxing than into the sport that he's supposed to be actively elevating up. The original baby now is getting thrown by the wayside. Literally tossed out with bathwater. Yeah, they got the UFC event in the White House, sure. But you look at how he's operating. He ain't focused on the UFC like we've seen in the past. And it might be he's trying to manage too many kitchens. And so it can be bad. Let me see. Do you think Canelo will beat Billy? Now, this I wanted to save for Thursday as a conversation. We can talk about it a little bit right now, though. We can talk about it a little bit right now. And in fact, that's actually a perfect way to segue into the world of the championship rounds, as we're going to end this show or go into the last segment of the show with the championship rounds of us going in and having your discussions and topics talked about for the world to see and witness. We want to hear from you 30 minutes to an hour on whatever you would like to discuss in the world of sports and beyond. But when it comes to the fight between Canelo and Billy, and again, we will talk more about this on Thursday because it was supposed to be, we hold that for later on in the week. Got to balance out all the stuff that we discussed to get content for the whole of the week. But we can talk about it a little bit. This fight between Billy and Canelo has me a little bit more intrigued than I thought, because I'm very interested in the recovery of Canelo and the work rate of Billy. I am really concerned at how hard Billy is going to push Canelo with relentless forward pressure. I'm concerned. Because again, we've seen James Kirtland do this and other fighters that Canelo's fought do this. But in terms of just somebody as headstrong and literally built like a tank for durability and constant aggression. And Billy is that. He is that. And Canelo, at this current stage in the world of boxing, being able to face off against that type of opponent, it is tailor-made for him to be able to succeed. He doesn't have to find you. He ain't got to track you down. He doesn't have to do anything out of sorts to go through and get you where you are. He is just going to be able he'll almost be able just to stay put, and Billy will come to him. And now it's just catch and shoot, be faster, be quicker, and land better shots. Perfectly fine. But at the same breath, is that pressure going to get to him more than it would have in his younger days? Is the gas tank to be able not just to match or get similar to the output, but just to deal with the output in and of itself, in what's going to most likely be a suffocating environment that we're going to see and Billy bring to the table? How exactly can you deal with it? And can you deal with it in the same way that you used to back in the day? Well, you're not taking a deep breath because all of a sudden, well, I need a little bit of a breather. Because I may not be taking any damage, but I'm getting winded. I still got to be able to withstand and abide inside this constant onslaught of fire. And if he's able to take the stuff I'm able to dish out and I start to slow down, now that can get a little bit concerning. We saw him had to take a breath and get tired against Terrence Crawford, who, sure, he was moving around and he was boxing beautifully. But when he actually sat down with Canelo, it wasn't Canelo that was getting the better of these advantages. It was Canelo that was shelling up. It was Canelo that was trying to protect himself. It was Canelo that was getting more and more put on a back burner in situations that he was supposed to be able to thrive. Why? Because he wasn't as comfortable being able to hold his breath and just throw and trade, not just because of the picture perfect punch placement of Crawford, but also just the physical makeup of Canelo is not the same. He still is a better fighter than Christian and Billy. He still is a better boxer than Christian and Billy. That's not, you don't got to debate me with that at all. There's no debate in that regard. Now it is the hands of time are the things that are the biggest threat to Canelo. The hands of time. As they continue to turn, your hands get slower and slower. There's some people that can break the mold. They break the clock, shatter the glass of what's supposed to be a timetable of distress and danger. But there's some others. It don't work out like that. And with Canelo, it ain't been working out like that. It's going to be a problem. It's going to be a problem that we better be concerned about. In Billy versus Canelo is equivalent to Holmes versus Ali. Now, it's not like that. It ain't like that. This isn't an Ali that shot the kingdom come, that should not have been in the ring, and that Larry Holmes didn't even want to have to fight because not only was he a mentor and trainer, but he was like, this is too much of a mismatch even for a fighter as great as Ali. He cannot do this. Canelo is not that far gone in the slightest. Like I said, if that Canelo that fought Terrence Crawford fought most of the other fighters at 168, he beats him. Canelo against Crawford, that was his Tyson Fury Usyk moment. Usyk was just a better man that beat Tyson Fury. They don't change the fact that when Crawford beat him, he was just that much better. Crawford beating Canelo is like when Usyk beat Fury. We don't shame Fury for losing to Usyk. That Usyk was just that great. That version of Fury in the first fight would have beaten almost every heavyweight. Would have beaten every heavyweight if he fought against him. The same thing with Canelo. Canelo in that fight with Terrence Crawford did things that we had not seen him do in a mighty long time as a fighter, as a boxer. It was just he got beat by a better man that was just leagues better than him being able to turn back the clock and looking like a younger version of a Canelo Alvarez that we had seen before. Looking like a younger Canelo or fighting in the style of a younger version of himself. It just wasn't enough because he wasn't enough because he just wasn't better. That's what that fight was. Ali was not at that stage when he fought against Larry Holmes. No, nowhere close. Nowhere close. We were saying before that fight, he probably should be getting out the ring. He's way longer than what he should have been. Some people attribute that to why he had his Parkinson's diagnosis get worse and worse at a more expedited pace because of the excess hits that he took later in his career when he should have been retired from the sport. Too much damage. I'm not saying that's real or not. I'm just saying that's what the going sentiment is. Canelo is not there. Canelo could still be, and it's still considered, the best right now out of everybody at 168. And Billy versus him is not going to be a whitewash where he's just going to run him over. But there is a chance that that is the case because of the style that Billy fights in. And now it's not a battle of, are you more skilled than me? It's straight up, it's a war of attrition. It's a war of endurance. It's a war of relentless pressure. It's a war of strength, physicality, and the ability to hold your own for 12 rounds in the midst of a constant onslaught of offense. It's William Zepeda with actual pop. And some would consider better boxing. That's what this is. It's a black William Zepeda with even more power, durability, and ability to knock you out. And you got to deal with that unrelenting for 36 minutes, if you can even go that long, if your body doesn't give out. A relentless body attack. A relentless hook attack to the head. Literally, head down, gloves up, torpedo coming at your chest. That will just go and swing away regardless. You have to physically be able to withstand that. Not just outbox that. Can Canelo do it? That's the question. Again, a perfect example, Isaac Cruz. Isaac Cruz is the fighter. You can outbox Isaac Cruz. But the biggest thing is you got to deal with, at least for 5 rounds, brother, you're going to get hit. You're not going to be able to get away. There has never been a fighter that has been able to get away from Isaac Cruz until the 7th round. Never. I've yet to see a fight where somebody just been able to completely get away from Isak and his aggression and his power and his relentless stamina during that first half of the fight going into the second half. And until round 7, there's barely any separation, no matter how good somebody can move. El Rayo was put in trouble for the first 5 rounds of the fight before he ultimately was able to turn it around. Lamont Welch got knocked down and was getting ready to get knocked out by Isak Cruz, got flung across the ring. And that brother was supposed to be on par with boxing with Tank. He beat Tank. Or should have beaten Tank anyway. And he couldn't get away from it. Tank, with as great of a boxer as he was, we were calling for a rematch. Yes, he had one hand in that fight, but his feet worked just fine. And guess what? He couldn't get away from the onslaught and pressure of Isaac Cruz, even though he was seen at that point in time as one of the 5 best boxers in the world. One hand or not. That's what we're saying and Billy is going to be for Canelo. Well, that's what I'm saying he's going to be for Canelo. He's going to be that type of guy. You can't get away. And if you can't get away, you're going to have to either outwork him or outlast him. And Canelo right now, can he do any of those things and have the endurance? Because right now, as he's gotten older, we've seen him degrade physically. It's going to be a physical fight against him, Billy. So it's going to be a challenge. It's going to be a challenge. And I guarantee you, if he can't come up, if he can't be up to par, there's going to be some uncomfortable conversations. Some hearts might drop. Because then Billy might just, oh gosh. He could put Canelo in the fight of his life. He really could. He really could. Let me see. I'm training. Hold on. Hold on. Did you say you're training with Bivol? You're training with Bivol. Did you mean to say rocking? You're rocking with Bivol. You want to see him get his comeback. You're talking about him denying a potential bigger payday than the first two fights for Archie Beterbiev for this trilogy and still not taking it. But you're still rocking with him to win. Are you saying that, or are you actually saying you're training with Bivol, though? If you're training with Bivol, you give him this channel, please. Hey. If you in the ring with him, if you in sparring with him, send him us. Send him us. Oh, we love a connection. We would love to get involved with. Again, if this, unless you mistyped, if this is true, please. Hi, Bivol. What's going on? Big Saw is a phenomenal dude. I assume he's incredible in the ring with you. If he's able to train with you. If you can get in contact with us, we would love to have you on the show talking about your career going forward, the boxing world as a whole, and your next steps for potentially fighting some of the biggest stars in the sport, like with David Benavidez, like potentially with the rematch with Canelo. Why are you not fighting Archie Beterbiev when it's reportedly you got to offer more money than ever? If that is true, we would love to hear from you. And you are very cordially invited to join in and be a part of our empire and come into the kingdom of the Welch Report with us today or any day. We'll make time. We'll make it work. We will make it work. Absolutely. Oh, man. Let me see. Canelo at this stage isn't outworking Lester. That's where I'm concerned. That's why I'm concerned. I don't know. I'm scared we're going to see that level of work rate be so overbearing for so long that it's going to be Canelo starts to wane second half of the fight. That's what I'm scared of. That's what I'm petrified of. I don't want that to happen, but my gosh, it can. I'm not saying it's likely to happen. I still believe Canelo was a better fighter. It's just the whole question's been for a year. A year. What is Canelo going to look like now post Terrence Crawford? Because we understand the injury, or rather, not just the elbow injury, but the body is not the same. The mind can do what the mind wants to do, but even Canelo said himself, my body didn't let me do what I wanted to do. And the last time we heard that was Manny Pacquiao. And we know what happened when Manny Pacquiao said that.
Hey, we got some problems here. We got some problems here.
The brother threw 800 punches, but still lost to Ugas. And that's the last time we saw him fight up until Mario Barrios. That's where we are concerned. That's where the concern, that's where the drive to just want him to succeed. Is the body able to do what the mind is wanting to do? That's the thing. It's the opposite. Normally, what is it? What's the term? Is it the mind is able but the body is weak? I believe that's the coin of phrase that we normally hear. That's what bodes true. The mind is willing, and the mind probably still sees the same openings. And he still sees in Billy as, oh yeah, this is my type of fight. But that's the problem. Because it's your type of fight, you can't fight like that, potentially anymore. Or at least at the same long-standing or long-lasting terms that we've seen you before. Might not be able to. It's like Deontay Wilder. Deontay Wilder got old. Deontay Wilder got old overnight. Pacquiao got old overnight. And with Deontay Wilder, it was bad because people that were tailor-made for Wilder to be able to beat, like with the Big Bang Jang. He can block. He's a great fighter, great, phenomenal boxer. But he is built because he is big and he can't use his feet and he relies on blocking. That's the best people that you've been able to knock out your entire career. Because they can't block every time you throw that right hand. You can punch through. That's your only saving grace, but that's the saving grace that is there. And then when it came time to do it, you got spun around like a top before you got put to sleep. Didn't know where you were or who you were. But you forget, and ever since then, your right hand has been non-existent. The biggest weapon, Derek Chisora, was built for you to beat. And you went life or death with him. Derek Chisora, you went life and death with. You won. Cool. You went life or death with Derek Chisora. That is bad for where Deontay Wilder wants to be at. We're dealing with a biology that may not be built to be the same. And the same advantages of what he used to be, or the same advantages that he would have had, may not be able to be had anymore when he fights in Billy. It's a tailor-made fight, but it's a tailor-made fight that he can't fight anymore. That's where I'm concerned. Inside war, knockdown, drag out, catch and shoot, blocking and quick shots to the liver and to the head, all of that is there, but it might not be there for him to be able to do it the same way. Strictly because his body may not be the same. That's where stuff can get dangerous. That's where it can get scary. Like I said, we'll talk about it more tomorrow. On Thursday. But that's one of the biggest questions about this fight. Can he fight in his wheelhouse at the same level of success anymore? Because we've seen his body decline as we've seen time go on. That's the question. But we'll find out how it goes as we continue to go forward and watch the legacy of Canelo continue to go and evolve as we continue to get that fight coming closer and closer within the coming months and weeks. But even still, we got more to talk about in the world of boxing as we want to make sure that we cover everything. We're still in the championship rounds. My apologies. As we're still covering boxing and beyond, going through and talking about the world of combat sports as a whole. We still want to hear your thoughts and opinions. We still want to hear what you have to say in every framework of life in regards to the world of boxing and sports. And but again, we're still the championship rounds, so we still want to hear from you. If you don't have anything else to say, though, we don't have to go and overstay our welcome. We can end off the show and get ready for Thursday, as I also can cut some film and get some stuff done. Oh, wait, hold on. Wait a minute. Wait a second. Hold on. Okay. So reportedly, Boxing and Barbecue was a respectable source on the world of social media in the boxing landscape. Apparently, like we heard from Shakur on Inside the Ring today, hopefully we can get this fight done. Wait, hold on. What did Shakur say? Wait a second. Shakur said, hold on. Time out. What did Shakur say? What did he say? What did he say? Yeah, can somebody fill me in on this? Apparently Shakur was on Inside the Ring yesterday and said something in regards to this fight being on the table with him and Devin Haney. And apparently he's putting people in a lot of good graces, saying this fight might be straight up the fight that we have going down next. Let me see real quick what exactly he said, if I can find it. If I can't, what the world? Whoa, what's going on? The Ring, where you at? But I need to figure this out. Did Shakur say something? If we can't find it, don't worry. I'm not going to go and stress out with it. And while I'm searching, in fact, I'll keep on going through and get back to our chats and topics at hand. Let me see. No, that's supposed to say. Oh, that's supposed to say in Billy. Oh, okay. Oh, my bad.
We got some problems here.
My bad. My bad. I'm sorry. That's supposed to say, and Billy trains with Bivol. Not you train with Bivol. See, I thought you were going to put us on. I thought that was about to be our big break. But it's all good. It's all good. But in Billy trains with Bivol, well, then that should... Oh, well, actually, that changes a lot of things. If Bivol... I did not know that. I did not know that. See, again, we got to save some stuff for tomorrow. I don't want to give away everything. But if that's the case, that changes a lot of what this makeup of this fight can be. Because Bivol had some insight. And Billy can do some of what Bivol did when it came to taking Canelo's punishment and being able to dish out shots in response, as well as do things that Bivol can't do, or rather isn't privy with doing, with being a more aggressive fighter that can still take advantage of some of the offensive work that Bivol was able to accomplish with his own volume that he put out on Canelo when he fought against him. This could be a closer fight than we may think. This could be a closer fight than we may think. This could be a closer fight than we may think, with this understanding that Bivol's training with and Billy. Or rather, and Billy's training with Bivol. I'm going to save it. But this could breed some really exciting stuff. This could breed some really exciting stuff for this fight. So we'll discuss that on Thursday afternoon. I don't know why I cannot find anything with the inside the ring in terms of interviews that they had in any regard with say what did they scrub everything? Am I crazy? Did they scrub everything? Or is stuff just not loading? I don't know what's going on. Either way, if I can find it, we'll talk about it either tomorrow or we'll talk about it in the next 2 minutes if we can find out what the word's going on. But regardless of which, we are going to give you all a chance to have the last call in the world of combat sports landscape and have you all have a chance to say anything else that you want to say in regards to, before we end this show, whatever you want to get off your chest, we can hear you out right here, right now, for the world to witness and see, and add your voice to our conversation. If you have anything else that you want to say, we can bring it up right now for you all to witness and enjoy and have your responses for the world to see. If not, though, and if everything else is all well and good and you all don't have anything else that you want to say, I guess we can wrap this show up, sit at home, and get on out of here and let you all enjoy the rest of your afternoon. So, if everybody else is all well and good and nobody else has anything they need to say, we're going to wrap this show up and send it home and get on out of here. So, ladies and gentlemen, this has been another episode of The Worshipper with me, your host, Jean-Luc Welch. We thank you so much for tuning in and listening to the show. Hopefully you had a phenomenal time. Hopefully you enjoyed our show. Also, if my voice sounds a little bit hoarse, I do apologize. We're trying to make sure we take care of myself. That's why I said I need to make sure I'm feeling good and keep myself up to snuff so I can give you the best outcome possible for the enjoying and giving you the energy for this show. So if I do sound a little bit raspy, let me know so I can make sure I'm doing a better job of taking care of myself and also make sure I'm not coming down with the cold potential. But either way, thank you to everybody who tuned in and chatted and responded on our show and added to the conversation to make this show also special, also grand, and also great. If you please would, go on and subscribe to the channel. Come on and join the empire and be a part of the hottest show in all of the globe right here on YouTube and on every podcasting platform imaginable. You can find us on Apple, Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts, rate us 5 stars wherever you go, and you can go and help us to push this show out to the masses even more across multiple platforms. If you would be so kind, hit the notification bell so you know whenever we post right here on YouTube, and you can keep up to date with everything that we do right here on this channel. And please be sure to go through and leave a like on the video. One like makes a world of difference before you leave to help push this show out to the algorithms all across the globe. And if you want to support this channel monetarily, we have Cash App, PayPal, links down below in the description, as well as super chats, super gifts, stickers, and the like, super thanks and whatnot. whatnot. All that you can give and support to this show and help us to grow, flourish, and shine. We're like PBS. We're funded by viewers like you, and we need you all to help make this show great. Helps me to pay the bills and helps us to go through and edify this show to make it even more enjoyable for you viewers and listeners all across the globe. And please be sure to do the most important thing, which is to share the show with everybody that you know so we can keep on building up this empire together. But I've been John Luke Welch. You all have been absolutely wonderful. Be safe, be blessed, peace and love. We are out of here. Yes, sir. Salute to you. We're going to see you all on Thursday. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon. Enjoy the rest of your day. And we are out of here.